This is Andrew Metzger, tight end, class of 2023, Regis Jesuit High School, Kansas State signee, and you're listening to Playmakers Corner.
Howdy, y'all. Welcome back to the Playmakers Corner podcast. It's your host for this episode, Cody Stauffer, and it's the series that I have been working on here, and it has been such a pleasure getting to talk to all these players from our top 5 class of 2023 position groups here, and we continue that trend here this week, and we have a very special guest. If you'd like to introduce yourself, where you're from, where you play football, and the position you play, let's go ahead and hear it.
What's up, everyone? I'm Andrew Metzger. I'm tight end. I'm a senior from Regis Jesuit.
Yes, sir. And man, there were some crazy moments in this last season, and we will get into that for sure. But before we jump into specifically just this season and talking about that team, we want to get to know you and your relationship with sports. And that starts off with, what is your favorite memory or experience while playing sports? This could be a rivalry game, a comeback, a crazy weather game, what have you. Let's just go ahead and hear, what is that moment where you're like, man, this is why I'm playing in sports?
For me, I would say junior year, when we played Mullen. That is a big rivalry just in tradition for Regis football. Regis versus Mullen is a big traditional rivalry. I had my first touchdown of my high school varsity career that game, so that was a really big deal. And I just remember it being tons of fans, huge rivalry. And it was probably the most fun I've had, up to that point, playing a football game, just being in that environment and being a part of the history of that rivalry and winning that game was something that I'll always remember. And then another one I'd just say is our fall storage game playoffs. Just because probably that was the most fun I've had playing football in my life. I had 3 touchdowns that game, not just performance-wise, but as a team, we went 9 drives and had 9 touchdowns. Everything just was working that night. I remember after the game in the locker room, we were going crazy, and that was probably just the best memory I have with my teammates is winning that playoff game and just dominating that game. So I'd say those are the 2 main ones.
And those are 2 really good ones. I mean, obviously everyone loves to win in the playoffs. And I mean, 9 for 9 on drives and touchdowns is, I remember seeing that score just being like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of points. And, I mean, that's just, especially as an offensive guy, you love to see it. You love to see efficiency, yeah. Right? So, that's something that you could always kind of strut about with. And then, yeah. I mean, that first touchdown is always, there's always something magical about that moment. And for you to have it in, such a historic, rich kind of tradition game, that's awesome. So I love the stories, man.
Yeah, no, it was, both of them are just memories I'll always never forget. And just those plays, that first touchdown, I don't even remember it happening. It's just it happens and then you're just oh my God, what's going on? So just being able to look back on that stuff and just trying to cherish those moments, I guess, because you're never going to get them back in your high school career. So.
Yeah, everything's a blur until your teammates are running up to you and you're like, oh my gosh, I put points on the board.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
No, I'm glad that that's something that I haven't really thought about in a long time. Is that I remember scoring, but whatever led up to it, I mean, that's irrelevant. The important thing is that I made it in there. So that's awesome. And then we're going to ask you to kind of flip your perspective a little bit here for this follow-up question. And we're curious on what your favorite sport viewing experience is, what your favorite experience is as a fan, whether this is a game that you saw on TV and you'll always remember, or maybe something that you saw in person.
Hands down, number one experience. I believe it's 2015 or 2016, Ohio State against Michigan when it went to overtime and Ohio State won. Craziest game I've ever seen in my life. We stormed the field and everything. My dad played football at Ohio State, to give some perspective of why I was there. He played tight end also. So we usually went to a game every year when I was younger. And I think that was probably the last one I've been to, just because high school and everything started to get crazy. But I've never seen anything like that, stands and just the amount of fans. And oh my gosh, it was crazy. Just storming the field, seeing that play happen as an Ohio State fan, That was insane. And I think that was the first time it ever went to overtime for those two teams. So just being able to see that was awesome.
One of the best rivalries in college, maybe not just sports, but, specifically college football. I mean, for you to be there in person and storm the field, that's nuts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I had no idea that being a tight end ran in your blood, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. My dad, he went to Ohio State originally as a linebacker, but then he switched to tight end. Tight ends were different back then because he was big. It's a little different than it is now.
Yeah, he was a little bit more of the muscle and a little bit less finesse, I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. Well, I think that's a great point to talk about your game and kind of, some things that we liked and whatnot. And I think, you still had the muscle here as we did score your blocking pretty solidly here, between both Coach V and myself. We both rated your blocking at a 9 and, some other categories like your hands, ball skills, rating that, on the higher end of things at an average score of like a 9. So, those were some things that we did like about your game as you graded out and obviously made our top 5 list. And then, looking for, some of these things you just can't control, like route tree. You're not the one designing the plays, so you can't choose your route tree. But, footwork and agility wise, some things that we were looking to see you work on in the offseason. I guess, what was your reaction to our evaluation of your game? What were some things that you maybe agreed with, maybe some things that you disagreed with, and maybe some things that you took with you into the offseason to work on?
Yeah. So I think your assessment was fair. Coming from an outside perspective, and I don't mean this in any disrespect to any of the other tight ends in the state. And we have a ton of great tight ends in this class, but myself, I believe I'm by far the best tight end in the state. And the reason I say that is although I didn't get the amount of receptions, that's just due to the offense we were in. Like you said, route trees wise, I basically ran 5-yard out, spot up 5 in the middle of the field where the linebackers are, or a go. That's all I ran the whole year. Or I'd slip underneath the linebacker. I basically had 4 routes all season. We were just in an offense, kind of like an RPO, where you're not really set up to succeed as much on the tight end wise. And we also had a ton of talent, like DeAndre on the outside. When you can give him the ball, you're going to give him the ball as much as you can. So I think, honestly, I was a little underrated. I know that's a little unfair coming from me, but
no, that's what you're supposed to say. You're supposed to believe you're the best in the state, man. So of course, no, there's no disrespect there. You're just, hey, this is what I'm about. So don't even worry about that.
Yeah, but I'd just say, attributes wise, I think I'm a really aggressive blocker. I think that's something I really take pride in, is some of the reasons behind the design of our offense. I'm sure you saw a lot of me pulling to lead the quarterback and lead the running back is because of what happened in the summer. We weren't originally going to do that, but then when we started doing it, I started killing people. We decided to do it. So that's something I really take pride in, is just bringing that tenacity and bringing that aggressiveness into blocking and finishing blocks. The other thing is just catching the ball in traffic. I think I have a really big frame, and I think I took advantage of that. I really didn't get to show that this year, but I've been practicing it a ton. I know against Arapahoe was really the only one time we tried it, and it worked. So I just say my overall size and frame, I think I really can use it to the best of my abilities, and I think it's an advantage every single time I get thrown the ball. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that we're very excited to, see more opportunities, figuratively and literally, thrown your way heading forward in the future. And I think that you even did a great job with, kind of addressing this next question as far as qualities that separate you from other tight ends in the state of the country. Just, your tenacity, your aggressiveness in the blocking game, and, being able to kind of carve out that role and shape the offense with the, prowess that you had with it. You were our highest rated tight end in blocking by a pretty significant margin compared to most of these guys. And, I think that when you obviously did get those opportunities, you did make the most of them. So I think that those are great points to kind of stand by. And I just want to give you a chance as well to just kind of toot your horn a little bit more here and talk about maybe another quality or two that you think separates you from other tight ends. You kind of talked about in the state, but maybe qualities that separate you from other tight ends in the country as well.
Yeah. I would just say my overall understanding of the game. Like I said, the offense limited me a little bit, but especially coming from college recruiting wise, just sitting down and having a meeting with coaches, a lot of things they say is just me understanding the game and understanding coverages is exponentially better than what they've seen from anywhere else. So I take pride in that, just being a smart football player. And then just overall well-balanced tight end, like including everything, blocking, catching, receiving, speed, after the catch, all of the above. I take pride in not only just like succeeding in those things, but every single thing when it comes to being a tight end. Hand in the dirt, split out. That's something I really have been working in every section of the tight end game. And based on the feedback I've gotten from coaches is that overall I am a very well-rounded tight end, and that's something I agree with. And I think I'm very comparable to some of the top in the nation, honestly, when it comes to overall tight end. So.
Yeah, and you can see, your understanding of the game in the opportunities where you do get to find those holes in the defense. I did note in my notes that you do a great job on finding those holes in their zone and, making them pay for it, really, when you get that opportunity to catch and turn up field. And yeah, no, I think that obviously with everywhere that you lined up, that is a testament to your versatility as well. So, and talking about your game and, the things that you were able to do on offense and whatnot, I want to kind of talk about what were some of your favorite matchups from whether it was your junior year or this past season that you really enjoyed, whether it was against a specific player that was covering you and you just really enjoyed kind of the battle that brought, or maybe some of the defenses that you got to kind of test your skills against. What were some of your favorite matchups?
I would say for sure Creek. I mean, that defense was loaded. And I found myself blocking against Chase Brackney a lot. The DN is going to Iowa. And that was just a really good matchup. He's a really good kid. So just having that where he would win some, I would win some, just like kind of having that level of we're both D1 guys. This is what we're going to experience in college and just going all out. That was something fun that I really appreciated. It was just going all out against someone. And that was a really good matchup. The other ones I would say is when we went to Oaks Christian, that was really fun. Just that overall team, California school, they were fast. I just remember that game thinking like they have some athletes. I just appreciated playing kind of a new style offense. They very air raid offense. They were a really fun matchup for us offensively and defensively, just something we hadn't really seen yet, and I really enjoyed playing against them also.
Yeah, no, and talking about that matchup, obviously didn't get to quite come home with the win, but I mean, you pushed them to the limit in this game, and I think that there's kind of this national perspective that Colorado's a flyover state, but here you are, hanging right with this California team. Do you think that the talent gap between the national powerhouses in Colorado is as significantly as it is played out to be? Or do you think that Colorado football is maybe a little underrated on a national scale?
Colorado is 100% underrated, and I will stand by this. I have looked at film of I don't know how many tight ends, I don't know how many different players. Colorado is not a flyover state. Colorado is up there with Midwest schools, up there with California schools. You look at Creek, they played the number one team in Ohio. They lost by 6 points to the number one team in Ohio, which is considered like top 5 in the country. So Colorado is right there. I think we get a bad rap just from the history. I mean, obviously, I think over the past 5 to 10 years has really taken an increase. The kids in 2023 and 2024 classes for Colorado are legit. And I think they're starting to more see that. I think some of the 2024 guys are getting some big offers. And I think 2023, we got some big offers also. But I think we're finally starting to get a little more of the appreciation we deserve. But there is talent here for sure, especially at the top 25 guys definitely are D1 guys, 100%.
I couldn't agree more, and I'm glad that you took the time to even say I've watched the film. And we're a podcast as well that we've done requests of out of state guys, and there's talent where it's some people are oh well, there's 4A players in Florida that are better than every Colorado player. I'm like, not necessarily. I mean, just like every other player, they bleed, they bruise, and, they have pros and they have cons, right? They have areas to improve on, and they have things that they do really well. So
Right.
I got to agree 100%. And, I think that you bring up a great point that the history is just kind of tough. I mean, especially, there's still some teams that are stuck in wing T and stuff. And,
Yeah.
over the years, it has slimmed, especially like you said, these past few years. We've seen a lot more passing offenses. And, I think that that's a pretty good trend for Colorado football to kind of ride a wave here and continue to produce some top talent. And, yeah, like you said, this year, lots of great offers, lots of big names. And, I'm glad that you're talking about some 2024 guys. And, I want to know whether it's, in the class of 2024 or maybe even some younger guys, who are some players that we should look out for, from Regis in, whether it's this next year or these next coming years?
Yeah, definitely. I would say in the junior class going to be seniors, I'll just say as a whole, our defense will be good. Our defense will be very good. It's a lot of young guys, but we will be really good. Nico Arbach, safety. He didn't play a ton this year, but he works really, really hard. That kid will be really, really good. Peyton Lindell, he is not a 2024. He's a 2025 quarterback. He will be good. He'll have a really good – he has a cannon. And, like, the 2025 class has some dudes. We have a lot of linebackers, tight ends, a lot of the guys behind me, Grayson and Jace. Those guys, they're going to have great seasons, even as sophomores next year or juniors next year. So look out for them because they're going to kill it.
Yeah, no, and I always appreciate this, and especially as, media who does do season previews, it's always nice getting to know, because, I mean, we can't go to every team's practices. You know what I mean? That's just impossible. I'm just going to call it as it is. It's just impossible. So, to talk to players who are there and hear about guys that are going to be up next who maybe we didn't see in too much varsity action, but we're going to be seeing a lot of, it's always really nice to hear that. And so I really just want to say thanks for that. And we'll be looking out for that Raider defense, especially. I mean, who better to know than the guy who's repping against them all the time in practice, right?
Yep, definitely.
So, and, obviously there are some things for them to kind of learn from this season. What do you think some of those lessons are that some of these younger guys should learn from this season to take into this fall season with them?
First of all, I would just like to say I forgot to bring up a name, and I know he's going to hear this, but Anthony Badia, that kid is a dude, and he's going to go D1. I will say that right now. So, Anthony Badia, sorry, I forgot to say that. He's a beast. But
yes, he is. I got to see him put in some work as well.
To say that he's a beast. That kid is a monster. Sorry, could you repeat the question? I forgot to say that.
Yeah, no worries. I was just going to ask, what are some lessons that some of these younger guys can take away from this past year? And, what are some things that you think were just valuable moments as far as growing from this past season?
Yeah. Something that I took away from this season is our senior class is we really upped the culture part of our team this year. Overall, no disrespect to the other classes of Regis, but the senior class wasn't necessarily great with leading. And I think this year we all took a really big step in being role models for the team. I think I especially grew as a leader for the team. So I think just coming together as one group of guys, as leaders especially, or as seniors especially, defense and offense, trying to build upon that, trying to just be the best leader you possibly can. I know that helped us big time. Just finding stuff to do. That California trip was really big for us. Just we grew as a team. Finding stuff to do outside of practice, like summer, we would all get together before practice even started. We started in May, all the seniors just being together, just spending as much time we can together, holding each other accountable for workouts. It's just stuff you got to do. And I think we really did a good job this senior year of showing that to the younger guys. And I think that's something that they're going to carry on with them this next year also.
No, those are awesome lessons to learn. And, I definitely think that it's a little bit different, obviously, with Regis building that camaraderie and building that sportsmanship, because I mean, not everyone grew up immediately within the Regis vicinity, right? I mean, I know people even over where I work that go to Regis, and I'm like, that's like a 30-minute drive, but it's like, no, I want to go there for school, you know? So obviously you have kind of a different hand versus like some public schools where it's like, yeah, these guys played little league, then middle school, then freshman, then JV all together, you know? So they've been playing together for 10 years. So to hear that your class really took that step to tighten those connections, hoisting down those bolts, and bring it all together. That's good, and I think that is something that all those younger classmen that did witness it, 24 guys, even 25 guys, that's invaluable information. So as somebody who is in a similar-ish position where maybe there was a void of that, where I was a really young guy, and then as a sophomore seeing the next class really ramp it up, and that will have a lasting impact. Just for your peace of mind, I know that you weren't doubting it, but as somebody who's been in a role similar to that, I will say that that's awesome to hear, and I'm glad that you also got to take away some of that leadership as well, especially heading into college ball. And I think that that's an awesome segue to talk about your recruiting story. You have one of the more interesting recruiting stories as far as guys who I've got to interview so far, because you firsthand got to witness just how kind of chaotic the college recruiting landscape can be. So if you'd like to just kind of talk about your recruiting journey and what that story looks like, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, for sure. This is gonna be a long one, but let's do it. So really going in just freshman through sophomore year, I didn't really get any attention. That's kind of normal though. Shouldn't really be expecting any. Junior year, I had a great season. And then offers wise, they started coming in a little bit, some Mountain West schools, stuff like that. And then I got offered to a couple Power 5 schools, Duke, Washington State, CU, KU. And I was looking at those four pretty hard, but then I decided to go to CU. My mind was pretty set on CU, and the reason I wanted to go there is just the family orient of the school. It wasn't necessarily because I was from Colorado. It was a family there. The staff was a family. Coach Durrell was the coach at the time. Really loved the tight end coach, Coach Paris, and I still talk to him. But I really felt like a family there. I really felt like somewhere I would enjoy, and they use the tight ends great in that scheme. I felt like I was going to succeed there very well. Season goes down the line, they start struggling big time, obviously. Wasn't really looking like what I was expecting. And then the coaches get fired, and I was like, all right, I know this is probably not going to work out. So I started reaching out to other coaches, and I was having a good senior season by this point. So I was getting a decent amount of attention from a lot of Power 5 schools. So I had a lot of good options. Then Deion Sanders comes in. Obviously, that's a huge deal. So then you got to step back and go, hold on. Deion Sanders is coming into town. Like, it's a big deal. Obviously, they're going to succeed. They're going to do great. Thing was with that was that I'd love to play for Deion. I think he's probably great coaching. He's going to make that team great. Tight end wise, for me, it wasn't really realistic. It's going to be a Tennessee offense, run and gun, get it to your receivers, get it to your athletic guys, not really throw it to the tight ends and that kind of thing. Not necessarily I'm looking for all about me, but I'm looking for somewhere where I will succeed. So that didn't really fit kind of the category for me. They obviously re-offered me when he came in, but for me, it just wasn't really the fit. And then Kansas State came along. And they just checked all the boxes. I mean, as a family place right there, like all the coaches, I love all the coaches. They use their tight ends. Show up for my official. All the guys are really nice. All the players give me their phone numbers. Deuce Vaughn's talking to me the whole time. It's just a family there. Everyone cares about each other. Coach Klein, huge Colorado guy. That's the reason why they found me. It was just from him. And obviously he's staying. He could have gone to Notre Dame, but he's staying. Just kind of shows the people that they are. It's that they're a big family. They're one big team. And so it checked all the boxes for me. That's really what I wanted to be, somewhere where I was a family, where my talents would shine. And that's somewhere where I really think I will shine, is just they have a lot of different things to do with the tight ends, a lot of different sets, a lot of different motions, tight ends get down the field. They're doing posts. They're doing corners. So I think it's something that really checked all the boxes for me.
Yeah, and I guess, that's an intense situation where it's awesome that you stuck to what you wanted from a school, right? And like you said, it has nothing to do with, Dion or CU specifically. You're just playing to what you want and what your priorities are. And I feel like a lot of players that are caught in, the downwind of a transition, they're a little unsure. They get reoffered and they're like, oh yes, of course I'll stay, because they're more worried about the uncertainty and instability maybe. But for you, it was, this is what I want. This is what I'm going to stick to. And so I just want to commend you for that and, really give you some props. I mean, what were some resources that kind of helped you through that? And what were some, what were just some areas of guidance? Like, did your dad play a pretty big role in that, being a former college guy, or who kind of had their hand in helping you kind of stick to your guns and navigate this very hectic process?
Yeah, definitely. Because like you said, I mean, you don't take that offer and there were doubts of well, who's going to offer me? I mean, I might not have any options. So it was really my dad and my coach, Coach Philman. He's our head coach. They did a great job of supporting me. They knew what I wanted. I did a great job of communicating with them. My dad had been through the same process, but not really. It's been a totally different time. But just them having my back, they knew what I wanted. I discussed with them, hey, this is what I want, and they knew what was best for me. So I made sure I told them all the information, and they knew. They're like, hey, this is what you want. The second that Kansas State came into the school, my coach was like, hey, Andrew, I know you're going to love them. So just having that support and them backing me up, being like, hey, we know what you want, and we're going to stand by, and we're going to be here with you. So that was really big, just to have someone to support me.
Well, I'm glad that you had that support network going for you. And I mean, obviously this is very exciting times. And that makes a lot of sense that you point out Klein being a huge Colorado guy, because I mean, you obviously, and you're talking about the 2024 class as well. And now I'm putting 2 and 2 together. So you must be pretty psyched at
Yeah.
the prospect of Blake Barnett coming in there as
Yep.
well. So
Okay.
I see you.
Yeah, we got some dudes. We got some dudes in the 2024 class. Yeah. No, we're just gonna keep it up. Yeah, I got to do some recruiting of my own. So, no, Kansas State even though we had a great season, we're still on the rise. So, look out.
Watch out for those Wildcats. That's brought to you by Andrew here. And so, we appreciate all that. And I'm getting a little hyped myself for some K-State football. And I ain't even like that. I'm not going to lie. I'm not a K-State fan. I'm not going to pretend to be. But, it's always nice hearing how excited players from Colorado are to go there. And just, I'm living off the buzz a little bit here. And so, I guess, what are some things that you're trying to work on before you get on campus? What are some things that you've tried to focus on this off season to best put you in a place to compete once you're going through these drills, especially heading into the fall?
Yeah. Big thing for me has just been routes and running. Just keep up what I know I can do is just going over deep routes, short routes, everything. Make sure I'm still in tune with my game, practicing blocking, the steps to blocking. It's a lot more detailed than you think. Just going over all around the football game, and then strength, obviously. I've been putting on a lot of weight and just getting ready because I mean, nothing will really prepare you for college football, but just getting closer and closer and closer to my maximum, so that when I'm there, I'm able to compete with the guys there and do the best of my abilities. So.
Yeah, even though it's a completely different animal, you got to do something. You can't just wait for it to come to you. So, that's a great point as far as, just trying to get stronger and bigger, especially. I mean, once you start seeing that everyone or most of everyone is your size versus, not just like a Chase Brackney and a Blue Moon, you know what I mean? I think that is a huge point of emphasis, and I appreciate you bringing that up. So. And, I guess now that we're kind of getting near the twilight here of this interview, but I want to give you a chance here to kind of give some advice. If you could talk to either a younger version of yourself or just like this next generation, whether it's, class of 25, 24, 26, 27, 28 guys, even like middle schoolers that are aspiring to succeed in high school football and potentially go beyond that? What is some advice you'd give to them, whether it's through school or athletics?
Yeah, for sure. I would just say stick with it because it's going to suck at some points. Like for me, I'd always wanted to play college football. My dad did. That was my dream. But like sophomore year, freshman year, I was behind 3 Division I football players in the tight end room alone. So there'll be times where you feel like I'm never going to play. I'm never going to get out of this. This is horrible. This sucks. Just stick with it. Stay with it. That's all I did is just give it your all every practice. Be there on time. Beat every weight thing you can beat to. And eventually you will get in and you will get going because I didn't think I would be in the situation I am right now at all sophomore year or even junior year. But if you just stick with it and do what you're told to do and just keep on improving yourself mentally and physically, you will get there. And then the other thing I would just say is communicate with your coaches. That was a big thing I took into step this year is just communicating with your coaches, especially your senior year, of your goals and what you want to do to succeed. Not in an annoying way, not in an unfair way, but just talking to your coaches and being like, what can I do to improve? What can I do to get on the field is something that really is big and something that they appreciate. And the last thing I would just say is leadership. Leadership is probably the most important thing because you're going to use it the rest of your life, football or not. You're going to need leadership everywhere. And that just helps you grow overall as a person. And it helps you grow as a player because there's accountability. If you're a leader, everyone's looking up to you and you got to play the best of your abilities. So making sure you become that leader as a freshman for the freshman guys, sophomore for the sophomore guys, junior for the younger guys, and then as a senior, obviously, you got to be a leader for the team. But every step of the way, just making sure you're trying to be that leader because that goes a long way.
Yeah, and I guess I just want to take it one step further as well. And I mean, I know that you've talked about it a little bit throughout this interview and you've highlighted it a few times, but what does being a leader mean to you?
That's a good question. I would say being a leader is showing people what they can do to the best of their abilities. It doesn't mean it's going down like getting upset at someone for not doing their job, but it's pushing them to their maximum. Like this year, I think I did a really good job of pushing the younger tight ends to their maximum, getting the best out of them, getting them to buy into what the team is, getting them to push themselves as hard as they possibly can. And that's what something that a leader is to really get someone involved into the team and get them to push themselves for you, is to get them to be their best for you. Is that's when you know you're a good leader, is that you can get a team to rally up and get behind you and give their best effort for you, and you give your best effort for them in return.
I like that definition. I mean, I think that that's a solid one, and I'm glad that we were able to make you think a little bit. Also, you know what? To the audience, real quick, can you believe this guy before we got on this interview said that he's not good at interviews? You've knocked this out of the park, dude. Like, I don't know what you were talking about.
I'll take it though. Thank you. I'll take it.
So I just like getting blown away by answer after answer and story after story. I'm like, what did he do this to say? You just wanted to set the bar low so I'd be extra blown away. That's my working theory right now.
No.
But I want to say just before, we do all of our outro and our wrap up here, and you've had a chance to shout out a lot of people on this episode, but, we think that it really does take a very good support system to make, a good football player or a good person, honestly. And so, we just want to give you some time here at the end of this interview to shout out anyone who's been important to you academically, athletically, at home, on the road, what have you, whoever's been important to your process, to your journey, to your story. This is a great time to shout them out here and, just kind of like the gratitude hour here at the end of the show, whether it's, other players, coaches, friends, or family, teachers, what have you. We just want to give you the floor to take as much time as you need.
Okay, first I'd say parents. That's the number one thing for me is I have unbelievable parents that support me with everything I do. They pay for workouts. They pay for football. They pay for everything. You really don't realize what they do for you till you're done. My parents have jumped through hoops. They've missed work. They've done everything just to get me in the situation I am and allow me to perform to the best of my abilities. So they mean the world to me. And I'd just say my teammates. I mean, my teammates have pushed me through a lot. Like I said, this year we've really grown. Hayden Moore is a guy I've been working out with every day basically for 3 months. And our entire careers, we've just been able to push ourselves to become better and better and better. And just, I'm really appreciative of the teammates I've had and the people I've been around to push me to the best of my abilities, because no one can really get through this alone. No one can get to the situation I am alone. So I guess just a thank you to everyone who has pushed me to the best of my abilities and made me the person I am. So, yeah.
Nice. And then what I always tell guys is to go, and anybody else, you know who you are. Just otherwise they will give you flack. I promise you. They'll be like, what up? So I'm covering for Andrew here to all those, you know who you are's. All right. Don't go giving this guy too hard of a time. All right. But Andrew, where can the people find you and get those follower numbers up on your socials?
Oh, geez, I didn't think this was gonna happen. I get a shout out. I'll take it.
This is part of being a college football player. We got to build the brand, man. NIL's a part of the deal now.
Jesus. All right. Instagram, Andrew _ Metzger _ If you don't know how to spell it, just guess. It'll come up. Yeah, you'll catch me at Case. I'll be playing soon, I promise.
Yes, sir. And obviously Andrew Metzger 87 on Twitter. I know that we follow you there, and I think we follow you on Instagram. And while you're there, given the guy here, this K-State football player, the follow, and you're paying attention to his career, be sure to also find us, Playmakers Corner, on those exact same socials. We're at Playmaker Corner on Twitter, but we're Playmakers Corner everywhere else. Instagram, Facebook. We're on YouTube where we post our episodes and clips there as well. If TikTok is still a thing by the time this episode comes out, you can find us there, Playmakers Corner. Hopefully it's still there. Otherwise, I have to chop this all out. But, go ahead and find us there where we like to post clips. We even posted this was back when we recorded the tight ends episode, which is one of the first position groups that we did. But, there was a little highlight reel of Andrew here, as well as, some of our commentary. And be sure to check out that episode where we do get to kind of dive into his game a little bit here, and then combine that with this interview, and you have a well-rounded perspective on everything that Andrew is, both off and on the field, from his eyes and ours as well. But, thank you all so much for the support. And, I have been Cody Stauffer, joined here by a very special guest. Andrew, thank you so, so much for taking time out of your day to chop it up with us.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. And we will catch you on the next episode or next time. So adios.